because how we speak about God reveals a lot about our relationship with Him. I mean, think about how you speak about the people who are closest to you, your spouse, your children, your best friend. The way that you talk about them reflects your relationship with them. If someone constantly and just solely is speaking poorly of their spouse, well, that reveals something potentially about the state of their marriage. If someone always speaks with love and respect about their parents, then that tells you something about their family relationships, doesn't it? Proverbs 15:2 tells us this: "The tongue of the wise adorns knowledge, but the mouth of the fool gushes folly." See, our words, they're not just sounds. They're windows into our hearts and minds. And the same is true with God. How we speak about Him, both in public and in private, it reflects our relationship with Him. And I'm talking about more than just avoiding blasphemy or crude language. I'm talking about the overall tone and content of our speech when it comes to God. In fact, C.S. Lewis, in his autobiographical work, Surprised by Joy, he describes his journey from atheism to theism and then finally to Christianity. And he writes about how his perception and way of speaking about God transformed over that journey. He says this: In the Trinity term of 1929, I gave in, and I admitted that God was God, and I knelt and prayed. Perhaps that night, the most dejected and reluctant convert in all of England. And so C.S. Lewis, he goes on to describe how initially he approached God as the absolute or the unconditional, these abstract kind of just philosophical concepts. But as his faith grew, his language changed. He says this: "My idea of God is not a divine idea. It has to be shattered time after time." And he shatters it himself. He is the great iconoclast. Could we not almost say that this shattering is one of the marks of his presence? See, C.S. Lewis's language about God, it became more personal, it became more relational in his book, Mere Christianity. He famously wrote this. He says, quote, I'm trying here to prevent anyone saying the really foolish thing that people often say of him. I'm ready to accept Jesus as a great moral teacher, but I don't accept his claim to be God. That is the one thing we must not say. A man who is merely a man and said the sort of things Jesus said would not be a great moral teacher. He would either be a lunatic or else he would be the devil of hell. You must make your choice. Either this man was and is the Son of God, or else a madman or something worse. I think this is absolutely fantastic, because how many religions do we have that say things like, oh, well, we regard Jesus as a great teacher? You can't. If the things that he said, either he was blasphemous, unbelievably blasphemous, or what he said is true. And really this progression, it shows how C.S. Lewis, how he moved from speaking of God in these abstract kind of philosophical terms to describing a personal and transformative relationship with Jesus Christ. See, his language, it became more direct, it became more passionate and more intimate as his faith deepened. This is why the third commandment is about so much more than just avoiding certain words or certain phrases or just being something you shouldn't do. But it's about cultivating a relationship with God that is so real, that is so vital, that it naturally just overflows into how we speak. So when we truly know God, when we've experienced His love, when we've experienced His grace, His holiness, it changes how we talk about Him. We can't help but speak of Him with reverence and awe. We naturally should want to honor His name because we want to honor Him. Maybe ask yourself, do our words, are they a reflection of a vibrant personal relationship with the living God? Or do they suggest that God is some distant, impersonal, or maybe irrelevant to our daily lives? And remember what Jesus said. He said, "For out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks." It's in Matthew 12:34. So the question is, what does your speech reveal about the abundance of your heart when it comes to God?